Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, the title of our lesson is the Chicago Address. And man, we are looking at a truly paradigm-shifting moment in history here. It's actually kind of amazing to see how the ideas packed into this one fairly short text delivered way back in the 1890s completely changed how different cultures even talk to one another. So get ready, because we're basically exploring a masterclass in persuasive communication and philosophy together.
To really grasp the weight of this whole thing, we've got to set the scene. The date is September 11th, 1893. The place? The very first World's Parliament of Religions, held in Chicago. Now, imagine this incredibly august assembly. A massive gathering of brilliant minds and spiritual leaders from literally all over the globe, coming together for the very first time. And then, Swami Vivekananda steps up to the podium. What he does next is, wow, it's nothing short of extraordinary. He doesn't just read some dry, prepared statement. He reaches right out and completely grabs the audience's attention.
He opens with these exact words, "Sisters and brothers of America." Now, you really have to think about the impact of that. With just 5 words, he completely dissolves the boundaries between speaker and audience, between East and West. He then goes on to say that rising in response to their warm and cordial welcome fills his heart with, quote, "joy unspeakable." It creates this immediate, deeply human connection right out of the gate.
Which brings us to Section 1, a radical Chicago greeting. Right from the jump, Vivekananda is completely reframing the global dialogue. He thanks the crowd, but not just for himself. He does it on behalf of the most ancient order of monks and millions of Hindu people across all classes and sects. He's literally bringing the dignity of an ancient civilization directly into that room. So the crucial point is this massive philosophical pivot he makes next. He pushes back hard on the idea of mere toleration. He states he's proud to belong to a religion that has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. Think about that difference. We aren't just talking about merely putting up with someone else's beliefs. That's universal toleration. He says, "We believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true." That is a massive, massive leap from passive tolerance to active, universal acceptance.
Moving on to Section 2, Sheltering the World's Refugees.
To prove that this isn't just, empty rhetoric, he actually backs up his philosophical claim with hard historical evidence. He proudly tells the assembly that his nation has a long, long history of practically applying this concept, sheltering the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations. He specifically points to the Israelites, noting that southern India gathered them in the very year their holy temple was shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. And then he proudly points out that they also sheltered and are still fostering the remnant of the Grand Zoroastrian nation. He anchors this big, abstract idea of acceptance right into the tangible history of his people, taking in those who literally had nowhere else to go.
Let's look at Section 3. All paths lead to one.
Shifting to the deep theological foundation of his argument, he shares something super personal. He recalls a hymn from his earliest boyhood, a hymn he mentions is repeated every single day by millions of human beings. Just listen to this imagery. As the different streams having their sources in different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. It's such a beautiful thought, isn't it? Water flowing through completely different landscapes, some crooked, some straight, but ultimately they all converge into the exact same ocean. It's basically the perfect metaphor for diverse human paths converging to a single divine goal.
He then takes this beautiful childhood hymn and scales it way up to address the entire assembly in Chicago. He asks them, and really, he's asking us, to consider the ancient text, the Gita. So what does the doctrine preach there? And how does it frame the very convention they are sitting in right then and there? Well, he claims that this incredibly august assembly taking place in 1893 is, in and of itself, a vindication and a public declaration to the world of a wonderful doctrine preached in that ancient text.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of that doctrine. He quotes, "Whosoever comes to me, through whatsoever form I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me." He is effectively looking around this diverse room of global leaders and telling them, hey, you are all taking different paths, but your presence here together proves that all these distinct struggles and forms are ultimately leading to the exact same place of unity. It is just a stunningly unifying theological basis for global harmony.
Which takes us to our final part, Section 4, the warning against fanaticism.
Now, once he's built this incredible case for unity, the tone dramatically shifts. He completely contrasts the beautiful, unifying language of the first half of his speech with this stark, dark, and super urgent warning. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how he defines the enemy.
He doesn't give some dry academic dictionary definition of sectarianism or fanaticism. No, he goes straight for violent, visceral imagery. He calls them horrible demons that have possessed this beautiful earth. He says they have drenched the earth often and often with human blood. They have destroyed civilization and sent whole nations to despair. It is a really harsh wake-up call, dropped right in the middle of a speech about tolerance.
He basically lays out the step-by-step cost of bigotry for the audience. First, these horrible demons possess the beautiful earth. Second, they fill it with violence and human blood. Third, they actively destroy civilization and bring despair to whole nations. And fourth, this is the ultimate cost. He claims that had it not been for these demons, human society would be far, far more advanced than it is right now. Bigotry, in his eyes, isn't just some abstract evil. It is literally an anchor holding back the advancement of the entire human race.
But importantly, he doesn't leave his audience in despair. He looks out at this gathering, this parliament of religions, and declares that the time for these horrible demons has finally come to an end. He expresses this incredibly fervent hope that the bell that tolled that very morning in honor of the convention would serve as a death knell, the death knell of all fanaticism, the death knell of all persecutions, whether carried out with a violent sword or a cruel pen, and the absolute end of all uncharitable feelings between people who are ultimately wending their way to the exact same goal.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this explainer. Vivekananda laid out an absolute masterclass in shifting from mere tolerance to universal acceptance, all the way back in 1893. He identified the demons of fanaticism and boldly declared their end. But as we look at the world around us right now, I want to leave you with this. Has the bell that tolled in Chicago truly silenced the horrible demons of bigotry today? Or are we still just taking crooked paths, struggling to realize that we're all actually wending our way to the exact same goal? Think about that for a bit, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.